that success started to feel heavy and is beginning to cause you anxiety as you level up, I want you to lean in because this episode is for you. Did you know that only 1.9% of women business owners, 0.9% of Black business owners, and just 0.5% of Black women business owners ever cross the $1 million mark? Well, that changes right here. If you are ready for high-level, high-income conversations about all things millions, your mission, your mindset, your methodologies, your mandate, your movement, your messaging, your marketing, your metrics, and of course, your money, just by listening, your income is going all the way up. Every week, you'll hear powerful stories, transformative interviews, and $1 million business growth insights to help you scale and sustain a 7-figure business with grace and ease instead of hustle and grind. I am your host, Dr. Darnyelle, award-winning spiritual business growth strategist, 8-figure entrepreneur, and God girl on a mission to help you experience abundance in your life because of your business. This is the Move to Millions podcast. Welcome home. If this is your very first time here, welcome. I already know that this will not be your last. I am on a mission to transform your soul and strategy so that you can make, move, leave, and net millions and do so with grace and ease instead of hustle and grind. If you're new around here, then you better get a copy of my best-selling book. It's a great place to start, in addition to this powerful podcast, to acclimate yourself to me and all the work that it is that I do. We've got a link for you to the book in the show notes. All season long, we are having a different conversation. This conversation is likely one that you are not having anywhere else. It's okay. I've got you covered. This season is about what happens when success is no longer the problem, right? If you know the Bible, then you know, speak those things that be not as though they were. And we're in this season where we already know how successful you are. And what we're getting to is the heart of the matter of what's really keeping you from the 7 figures that you come and listen to this show for. And it's not what you think. In this market, getting to 7 figures probably feels harder than ever. And so in this episode, we are talking about why success and the success that you are experiencing may weigh a little bit more right now, why it might cause a little more tension around your shoulders or in the small of your back. And here's what I want you to know. There is a moment in growth that almost no one knows to prepare you for. Listen, I'm going to tell you about my moment. And before I do, let me say this. It's the moment when things are finally working, but instead of relief, you feel tension, right? Instead of ease, you feel like you are always on alert. Instead of being grateful, even though you know you should be grateful, you're not feeling grateful. You are quietly sensing the need to brace. And you find yourself making those casual covenants like, oh, this is too good to be true, and waiting for the other shoe to drop because you know it must be a fluke. Now, I call this the fluke syndrome, when you really don't believe that you deserve the success that you are actually experiencing. And as a result, you tend to enter an unconscious sabotaging pattern that prevents it from ever happening again. Now, this is not about feast or famine. This is about hitting an upper limit, right? Being scared to keep rising and going beyond it because you don't like the way it feels. And so you don't say anything about it. Now, from the outside, it looks like success. Everybody is applauding the success. And at least that's the part that you want it to look like. Even though you don't feel the success, you want it to look like it's success. But if you've listened to the few episodes that have already dropped so far this season, you know that this season is not about what you should be doing next. This season is about anchoring in to the discomfort and recognizing that until you find a way to feel safe, integrated, and regulated, your 7 figures aren't coming in a way that honors who you are. This season is about what happens inside when your external life starts moving faster than your internal sense of safety. We're getting all up in and through that this season because, listen, enough is enough. I am always frustrated when I see talented, mission-driven entrepreneurs and CEOs out in these internet streets, I know they have the makings of millions. I know it. I can see it. I can sense it. But what I'm seeing happen to them, around them, what they are actually doing and how they're reacting and responding is keeping them from it. And it takes everything in me not to reach out to these people and tell them what the problem is. But I'm trying to mind my business over here and only work with and talk to those of you who are ready to do the work, the internal work that is required to experience the external success. Now, I get it. Having been there, done that, and gotten the t-shirt of all the things that I didn't do and didn't know what to do, I get it. And so in this episode, we're going to name something that most leaders only admit to themselves late at night, 3 o'clock in the morning, when nobody is paying attention. And that is that success can feel unsafe. Not because it's wrong, not because you don't deserve it, but because growth expands exposure faster than it expands safety. Oh, listen to me. I have been there, done that, and gotten the t-shirt for a myriad of times that I've seen this happen. Most notably, the first thing that just popped into my head was back in the day in 2014 when I first crossed 7 figures. I wanted it, y'all. I had been praying for 7 figures since I came back into my business. Rewind. Let me take you all the way back. I started this company October the 1st, 2007. I finished my second pink Cadillac with Mary Kay Cosmetics. It was hard. It was pushing a boulder uphill hard. And when I went to bed that night, we got it done. But when I went to bed that night, I prayed and I said, God, show me what you have next for me. Now, I've long believed that when God gives you something, it doesn't need batteries. Hey, I hate to interrupt the goodness that's happening right now in this episode, but I need you to do me a quick favor. If this episode is blessing your life and business right now, would you please take a few minutes to rate and review the show? Listen, your words will help more 7-figure CEOs and 7-figure CEOs in the making find us and make the move to their next level. All right. Thank you so much. Now, let's get back into the conversation because we were literally just getting this party started. And the work that I did to finish that second pink Cadillac was push a boulder up a hill hard. It didn't feel like it was still in alignment to my purpose. It felt like I was doing what I should do because I had previously done it and people were expecting me to do it again. Right? And so I went to bed that night ready to surrender and just like, God, okay, we got this done, but I know you have something different for me. As I went to sleep that night and as I dreamed probably every night according to my Oura ring, but I seldom recall my dreams. However, this particular night, I woke up with a full knowledge and understanding of what happened in my dream. And in my dream, I saw myself walking into a building that had a marquee that read Incredible One Enterprises. Now, up until that point, there was no Incredible One Enterprises. If you would have asked me what is an Incredible One Enterprises, I would have looked at you like you was crazy. But I had that dream. I grabbed my journal when I woke up and said, Lord, what is Incredible One Enterprises? And I sat. And eventually I heard the Spirit say, I want you to do what I brought you here to do. Now, I'm going to rewind a little bit further back to the age of 10. My mom went to jail when I was 8. I was living with my dad and my stepmother, and I was a pretty angry child. And my teacher, Mrs. Dixon, if you've got my book, you've heard me talk about this before. Mrs. Dixon pulled me aside on the way to recess one day and asked me had I ever heard of a journal. I had not. She gave me a composition notebook and told me every time I got angry to write in my journal. So I was just minding my business, channeling my anger, writing in my journal. And within 2 weeks, I felt elated. I felt a lot of the pressure leave my body. Now, these are Darnyelle 50-year-old words, not Darnyelle 10-year-old words, right? As I recount the situation, that's what I know I was experiencing. I felt the pressure kind of dissipate, right? I felt an ease come over me. And at the same time, I felt a knowing in my knower that I had found my purpose. And what I did when I rushed back to Mrs. Dixon with my filled journal, I told her that I wanted to use words to help people change their lives. Now, at 10 years old, I don't know what that meant. I just know how I felt writing the words down every time I felt angry, the cathartic nature of that practice, why I love journaling to this day. And so as I'm now fast forward back to October 1st, 2007, and I'm listening to God say, I want you to do what I called you here to do, the first thing that comes flooding back in is I've got to use words to help people to change their life. And so that's what I envisioned Incredible One Enterprises to be. And so when I first started, I said, okay, how do I do that? I'm going to write a book. I wrote my very first book. If you understood my past, you would understand my praise. And I started speaking. I got on stages and used words to help people to change their life. Like literally, that's what I was doing. And so when this all happened and I started the business, it felt like what I was most supposed to do next. It was great. Now, I went into the lost years. You've likely heard me talk about the lost years, unless this is your very first time here. That's from 2008 to 2010, where I ended up filing bankruptcy, going back to work to avoid living in my car. And I ate ramen noodles and peanut butter and jelly during that entire time. There's even an episode here on the podcast all the way back, like episode number 3, Ramen Noodles in a Dream, is where I recount this story. I was working a job, working the business part-time on nights and weekends. January 1st, 2011, I came back into the business full-time, ready, declaring that I was going to have a 7-figure business. I knew God had already shown me that this business was going to get to 7 figures. I'm going to land the plane here soon. And so I came back into the business ready for 7 figures. So I thought, consciously ready, but not consciously ready, which is why we're here to talk about this today, right? So I learned very quickly that declaring it out of your mouth does not bring it into your life experience. Now, I know that there are those out there who tell you just decree and declare. It's not that simple. Yes, decree, declare, but then you also have to work on your dysregulation so that what you decree and declare, you actually believe, you actually know in your knower that you can bring into your life experience. So it took me 3 years to do all of that work to land at 7 figures for the very first time. In 2014, we had our first ever 7-figure year. And I'll share more of that story. But I just want you to understand that when success feels heavy, your girl gets it. She understands it. Now, according to the American Psychological Association, they do a Stress in America's report. Inside of this report, they tell us that chronic stress levels increase significantly when people take on greater responsibility, even when their income and their status improve. Now, this is important, because most people assume that making more money means that you'll experience more peace. You probably have thought that. I know I certainly did. And then they realize what Biggie said is actually what is true, that more money means more problems. But the fact of the matter is this: your nervous system does not measure your success in dollars. It measures it in safety. And so when responsibility, visibility, and consequence increase faster, then your system can adapt, your body stays on high alert. Now, that's not a sign of weakness. That's just plain old biology, which means that the discomfort that you're feeling is not a personal flaw. It's a signal. But here's where it gets really important as I continue to share this personal story with you, because knowing why something is happening doesn't automatically change the way it feels when it happens. Now, you can understand the data and you can agree with the science, and you can still, even in those moments, find yourself unsettled inside of your own success. Been there, done that, got the t-shirt. That's the gap that most leaders don't even know how to name. So they absolutely cannot do the work to make the difference happen and land in their body. This is actually where leaders tend to get confused, right? They will say things like, I know I should be happy. I know this is what I asked for. Nothing is actually wrong. And I want you to understand that all of that can absolutely be true, and you can still not feel settled inside of your body. That's internal contradiction. And that is the beginning of the conversation we're having today, because your body does not respond to logic. It responds to patterns. It learns safety through experience, not explanation, through repetition, not reassurance. So when your responsibility expands, when your visibility increases, when decisions carry more consequence than they ever have before, your system is not malfunctioning, it's scanning. But here's the thing, though. It's not scanning for success. It's scanning for safety. And if this level of leadership is new to you and your body hasn't practiced holding it yet, it's going to mean tension, and it's going to lead you to believe that something is wrong. But what it actually means is something is unfamiliar. And unfamiliar doesn't resolve through more thinking. It resolves through more integration. I want you to just take a moment. I want you to wriggle your shoulders. Because here's what I need you to understand. Success introduces variables to your nervous system that is never practiced holding before. And to be clear, your body isn't resisting the success. It's trying to figure out how in the world to hold it. It's like brand spanking new. It's never experienced it before. Now, here's what I've come to learn. And that is that success expands three things at one time. It expands your visibility, it expands responsibility, and it expands your irreversibility. Visibility means more eyes, more judgment, more projection. Responsibility means more people depending on you, more consequences attached to the decisions that you make. And irreversibility means that there is no going back. And if your nervous system learns safety through being predictable, through control, or staying small enough to manage, then your success will actually put a monkey wrench in and disrupt that. That's why leaders don't relax when they win. They keep pressing on to the next thing. Listen, I have to remind my women clients all the time to celebrate a win so that they anchor it into their cellular memory. And so that they'll actually be able to remember what it felt like and how safe it was for them to get that win in the first place, because their instinct is to move on to the next thing. So they scan their body, they manage, they brace, not because they're ungrateful, but because their system has not learned how to feel safe in this new environment yet. Yes, there is a reason that your strategy feels stalled, and it's spiritual. Discover your divine wiring, which informs how you lead, where you're sabotaging, and how to make the shift to scale with the Move to Millions Ascension Archetypes quiz. In just 3 minutes, you'll learn what's really blocking your money, your momentum, and your mission. Take the quiz today at movetomillionsquiz.com. Now, this is the work that I am really enjoying doing right now. And this is the difference between having success and being able to inhabit success. Spoiler alert, you want to be able to inhabit success. And learning to inhabit success is not a mindset shift. It's a capacity practice. And what I'm describing to you is not a personality flaw. It's a common adaptation at this stage of leadership. When success increases, competence often becomes protection. You learn how to stay composed. You learn how to project and posture. You learn how to manage your reactions. You learn how to keep things moving even when your body feels the pressure. You focus on being put together, not because it's vanity, but because you're trying to survive. It's how your system actually maintains some sense of control when visibility, responsibility, and consequence begin to expand all at the same time. But here's the thing that happens over time. What once kept you safe begins to limit how much you can receive. That composure that helped you to lead starts to narrow your range of success. Now, you'll stay functional, but you'll have less available. You'll be capable, but you'll be less open. Not because something is wrong, but because that identity was built to get you here, not carry you there. This is the moment that leadership outgrows the identity that built it. Again, been there, done that, got the t-shirt. Not as a failure, but as a threshold. Now, there was a season where I noticed something really, really powerful about myself. Now, again, back in the day, I wouldn't have been able to use the words I can use now, but it happened nonetheless. I had just crossed 7 figures for the first time, like I just told you a few minutes ago, back in 2014. And there was absolutely a shock to my system. Before I knew what was happening, I started to notice that even when things were good, I was bracing and preparing myself for something to go wrong. If a launch went well, I wondered how long it would last. If revenue spiked up really, really high, I started to anticipate what my next challenge was going to be. Again, more money, more problems. If things felt calm, I questioned it, because why should things be calm? And that's when I realized something important. My system had learned safety through vigilance. Success didn't remove that pattern. It actually amplified it. It made it so much bigger because the stakes were higher. Oh, y'all, there was more to decide. There was more to manage. There was more that was happening in my life and in my business, and it was what I had prayed for, but I didn't have the foresight to know that I needed to prepare for the millions long before they showed up. And listen, I know I'm not the only one. Most don't. And as a result, the millions are short-lived. Did you know that 78% of those who cross seven figures once never repeat that milestone? We've seen it even amongst our own clients that we've worked with over time, where they've done it and then all of a sudden they can't do it again. Like we don't know what's going on. I literally had a conversation with a client who I helped cross seven figures actually back in 2019. So we really started paying attention to the number of people that we helped in 2021. But in 2019, I had a client that had their first seven-figure year, and it was a multiple seven-figure year. It felt to them like it came out of nowhere, but we use what is today the Move to Millions method to prepare a space for them to actually do it and to do it in a way that honored and served everything that was important to them. Now, all the time I was working with that particular client, I kept trying to prepare them to do the integration work. Now, this is beyond mindset. This is not just mindset. And the biggest mistake I see people make when more money comes into the picture is thinking they just need a mindset shift. No, you need a mindset shift, but you also need a body shift. Money is mental before it's material, but it is also muscular. So it's showing up in your body. It's landing in the small of your back, which is where financial instability and fear tends to show up metaphysically. And so for me, I absolutely experienced it back in 2014, 2015. They were seven-figure years, but 2016, 2017, 2018 were not. I had to figure out how to actually put myself in a position to do seven figures without my body going into shop. Now, when this happened, I was acutely aware, and it opened up an amazing opportunity for me. Now, that awareness did not shame me. It actually liberated me. Now, I'll be honest, I didn't see it that way at first. Because the fact of the matter is you can't regulate what you are not aware of. And to be fair, I didn't realize it for years after I burned down my seven-figure business and rebuilt it in a way that honored me. But anyway, this was something that I had done consistently whenever I reached this point, when I was trying to brace myself, when I was trying to figure out how to get beyond the limits that I had imposed for myself, right? And during that time that this happened, I experienced the pattern all over again. Yes, there is a reason that your strategy feels stalled, and it's spiritual. Discover your divine wiring, which informs how you lead, where you're sabotaging, and how to make the shift to scale with the Move to Millions Ascension Archetypes quiz. In just 3 minutes, you'll learn what's really blocking your money, your momentum, and your mission. Take the quiz today at movetomillionsquiz.com. I mean, what you gonna do, right? I didn't know that it was a pattern at that point in time. I just thought it was something I needed to push through, because that's what we do, right? We force an issue, we force an outcome instead of allowing our body to be a signal that we need to do things differently. This became, for me, as I started to become aware of it, the quiet anticipation of disruption. It shows up when success arrives faster than the body has learned how to hold it. But here's the important part that I really want you to get. That unsafety doesn't express itself the same exact way in every single one of us. It's going to shape and be shaped by how you are actually wired. Now, the same pressure that made me brace will make someone else overfunction, or make someone overperform, overcontrol, or relent and go quiet. Which is why understanding how unsafety shows up in you matters just as much as recognizing the fact that it's there in the first place. This is why I created the Ascension Archetype Quiz. I want to help you to understand why patterns like these happen to you, and I want to show you how to be able to work through them so that they don't take you out of the desires that you have for success to come into your life experience. Now, when you take the quiz, it will tell you which of the 5 archetypes is yours. And as a result of your archetype, it'll show you how you are wired to lead, to scale, to manage, and relate to money, And it will even show you where you are sabotaging your next level of success. So you'll either be a performer, a producer, a path maker, a powerhouse, or a prophet. Now, I want to make sure that you understand how unsafety actually shows up depending on your archetype. So I'm going to spend just a few minutes kind of walking through for each of the 5 what you could expect to see based on who you are as it pertains to this quiz. So if you're a performer, success increases visibility. And with visibility comes exposure. So you manage perception, you do your best to stay polished, and you keep performing from strength. Not because you're faking it until you make it, but because being seen now feels riskier than before. For my producers, success increases your dependence. So you start tightening your systems, you start overfunctioning, you start carrying the weight quietly. Not because you don't trust others, but because collapse feels intolerable. For my path makers, success will accelerate your vision. Now you'll start to see farther than your infrastructure can actually support you. So your body feels ahead of itself, and that sends you into a state of panic. Not because you're scattered, but because you're early, you're innovative. For my powerhouses, success increases consequence. Every decision matters so much more. So you grip harder, you feel more tension, you do whatever you can to stay in command. Not because you crave control, but because letting go feels very dangerous. And for my prophets, success amplifies your truth. And truth tends to disrupt everything for you. So you hesitate, you filter, you hold back parts of what it is that you see. Not because you're doubting yourself or even what you know to be true, but because being fully seen feels like the cost is more than you can spare at that particular point in time. Just take a deep breath, roll your shoulders. If any of that landed uncomfortably, then I want you to lean in and listen to me carefully. You have got to learn your ascension archetype. Listen, stop playing. It's time to go to movetomillionsquiz.com and take the quiz. It's going to literally take you 3 minutes, but it's going to unearth a whole world to you. It's literally going to be like the seas part, the heavens open, and someone rising on a donkey. It'll allow you to interpret normal nervous system responses that you used to see as personal failure the way that they should be. And this is where you will get stalled unless you figure it out. The quiz is going to give you the language for success and why it feels the way that it feels inside of your body. Not so you can try to fix yourself, but so that you can finally stop fighting yourself. And again, it only takes 3 minutes. And for many leaders, it's going to be the first time that you realize that nothing is wrong, because most leaders don't need another strategy. They need a space where their system can actually learn how to feel safe at this level. That's the game changer. Now, if success feels unsafe, that doesn't mean that you've outgrown wherever you are. It means that your system hasn't been invited to expand yet. All episode long, I've been talking to you about this one core truth, that growth doesn't require new strategies. It requires new internal capacity. When responsibility increases faster than regulation, when visibility expands faster than safety, when leadership evolves faster than identity, the body responds only the way that it knows how, by protecting you. Not because something is wrong, but because the newness of the something signals danger and risk. And once you understand that, then you can change everything. The tension will begin to make sense. The vigilance becomes intelligible, and the pattern stops feeling personal and it starts to feel developmental. Because here's where this gets even more juicy. Some leaders don't just feel unsettled, they actually feel unanchored. They could be successful, capable, or respected, but it still doesn't feel like home inside of themselves. And that's where we're going next. In the next episode, we're going to talk about what happens when leaders build powerful lives without building internal belonging. You have to belong to you first before you can belong anywhere else. We're going to get into why powerful people can feel internally homeless and what it actually takes to feel safe inside the life that you are actively creating. Oh, I hope you realize, like I realized, that this season of the Move to Millions podcast is just getting started and just heating up. I'll see you next time. Take care. Thank you for joining me for the Move to Millions podcast. Every seven-figure CEO has a divine design, and yours is waiting to be revealed. Take the Ascension Archetype quiz today at movetomillionsquiz.com, and you'll uncover how you're wired for wealth and what needs to shift in order for you to make the move with grace and ease instead of hustle and grind. Now, if this episode blessed you, do me a favor, subscribe, rate, and leave us a review. And always remember, millions are your birthright, and to access them, you need only move. Take care.